What's up, everybody? My name's Ryan Massacre, and welcome to the very first issue of The Snares. This is my 1979 Ludwig LM402 Supraphonic snare drum. I bought this drum when I was 16 or 17, probably 16. I think it was like 2017. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I found this on Craigslist in Charlotte, which is about 3 hours from where I grew up. I found this drum for $250, or I might have talked the guy down from $250. I think I paid $250 for it in 2017. As far as I can tell, it's all original except for the heads and the snare wires. It's got a little bit of pitting in it, but it's got that classic LM402 John Bonham thing, especially since I've got the 30s strand snares on the bottom and the coated vintage Emperor on the top. I use it for kind of a Bonham thing. I mean, I feel like I end up sounding more like Matt Cameron than John Bonham, but this drum has ended up on a good couple of recordings that I've played on and that I've produced. I think the first of which was the Snares Architect album, which we recorded in Spencer, North Carolina with a gentleman named Jim Mosher. He had a beautiful room and this really cool Soundcraft Ghost that had been modified like crazy. And we got some pretty good drum sounds in there, I thought. I've just tuned it down a little bit, and we'll see how it sounds now. To me, the Supraphonic sound is a very dry attack. Excuse me. To me, the Supraphonic is a very dry attack with a pretty short sustain, but still a very bright sound. Usually, when drums get dried up, with muffling, or I have some like fleece material. I don't know if you can see this on the camera. On my toms here, I have like a little piece of T-shirt just to kind of shorten the drums up a little bit, shorten the toms sustain. This is a 60s Ludwig standard kit. It's mahogany shells. I'll do a video about those at some point too. So we're a little higher than we were before, but the Supraphonic sound to me has a very sharp attack to it, right? And that's kind of one of the reasons I don't use this drum all that much. Because, sometimes it's best to tailor the tuning and selection of your snare drum to, your technique and your playing style. And I already have a pretty sharp and strong attack. It's kind of, I don't know, it's how I've always played. But so I don't really necessarily need any help in that regard. But if I have a client here in the studio that he's not hitting rim shots and maybe not playing very loud, this is a good drum to sort of get some attack back. But of course, the rim shots are super explosive on this, like they should be, and it's a great sounding drum. I probably don't use it enough. I did also play a similar 1970s 402 up in a session in DC. Back in was it March or April? I'm filming this in July, late July. And he had a similar 70s 402 with a regular coated Emperor on it. This is a vintage Emperor, which is a little thicker. And it sounded almost identical. It was maybe a touch brighter than this thing right here. I've got it tuned pretty high at this point. There's something about the 70s Supraphonics that it's the sound to me. I haven't really compared this to a new LM402. I do have a new LM400, the 5x14. They look pretty similar. Maybe the bead's different. Maybe the bearing edges are different, but I haven't gone through with a microscope and really taken a look at it. But this thing's got a pretty amazing tuning range. Here's a higher tuning. One thing that I do notice about this drum, and you might have noticed that I was kind of trying to get the different pitches out of the top head here a little bit. This drum actually does really well with uneven tunings. I have, like brass drums don't seem to sound all that great to me. But since the sustain on this drum is so short, you don't get those errant sort of honking, wild, uncontrollable overtones. And I like an open-sounding drum. But, there's a fine line. This is why I always try to tune my drums to have each tension rod have the same pitch. This is where I usually keep it, though. It's maybe medium high-ish. kind of reminds me of like that Ben Folds 5 kind of. I'm not entirely sure where that style of drumming comes from. It's kind of Keith Mooney. Yeah, Raconteurs, what was that guy's name? Patrick something or other. Like the second Raconteurs record has one of my favorite snare sounds. It just honks like a mother.